Hello, it's February 2025, and the last 4 videos I did ended up being a series on the topic of psyops, and it wasn't intended to be. It just, everything connected, so it made sense to do a continuation. And I suppose this video will also be a continuation of that, expanding even further. The original video, I discussed what I call the protest of rubber, also known as the convoy, how that was a psyop. It meets the elements of a psyop. And during those 4 videos, I mentioned the alternative medical cure, alleged cure, one known as, or begins with iver, and the other begins with hydro, and highlighting how that is a psyop. But it doesn't stop there, because you see the same patterns within each group on any topic. And over the years, I've shown, for example, even in discussions when it comes to religions and belief systems, how people show the same pattern. You must be on this side or that side. But before I get into all this, I want to go back to just focusing on the topic of iver and hydro for a moment. Because I had a recent, perhaps you want to call it a discussion, on a post that someone had made regarding iver. And I had made some comments and replies to that. And I found it very interesting how people defaulted to, well, if I'm against this, then I must be, as a descriptive, mainstream, going along with following the science. Nowhere in my replies or even my comments that I posted to that did I state anything or imply anything about which side I'm on. I only highlighted issues with the side that the group is accepting. And this is key, because part of the psyop, the programming is, well, if you're not with us, you're against us. That mindset. And no matter how much I try to, for example, give answer to which side that I am on, or information with regards to their position on iver and even hydro, it didn't matter. But as I said, over the years, I've noticed the same patterns with any topic, for example, belief systems, religions, or you really see this big with social justice movements, which is something I also focused on over the many years. Now, why did I focus on these things? Because these are the things that lead to injustice and tyranny. And even in a fairly recent video, I highlighted how someone had mentioned, well, laws should have some emotions to show or address the human side of legal issues, for example. And my reply to that was, we have that already, and it's called social justice, and we see the harm it's doing to society. Everything ties in together. Now, I want to focus on for a moment with regards to religions and belief systems. Now, I'm not advocating for or against any of them. I'm just simply highlighting some observations that were repeated by me, and I'm sure anyone else can do. And I've noticed, for example, when people are talking about say a specific religion. We're going to use the main three, the big three. We have Judaism, we have Christianity, and we have Islam. I want to be very clear. I'm not stating or implying anything for or against, or anything good or bad against. I'm just going to highlight some observations here. Now, I've noticed when I would reply to, for example, someone who's Christian and highlight some deficiencies with what they accept, they automatically default and assume, for example, that I'm part of one of the other two religions' belief systems. And they're very, very cruel when it comes to all that. And this is a common theme, again, when people's emotions are triggered, which is a sign of being psyoped, brainwashed, socially conditioned, socially engineered, whatever you want to call it, perhaps even gaslit, when emotions take over. But people become very rude. So they make this assumption. And I say, well, no, I'm neither one of those two. And because they will start to challenge the religion or belief system that they assume that I'm a part of. Nope, wrong. But then I would go to, for example, someone who is a descriptive advocating for Judaism. And they would assume that I'm one of the other two religions and criticize that and bash that. And I'm like, no, I'm not part of those either. And finally, the same applies for someone who is, again, as a descriptive advocating for Islam, assume that I'm one part of one of the other two religions' belief systems, and I'd say no. And a couple of times I've had people say, well, then what religion are you? Like, and I'm none. And I very clearly state that religions and belief systems have little to nothing to do with the Most High. Some might call, as a descriptive, God. And people can't wrap their heads around that. Just like people cannot wrap their heads around, for example, those who accept Ivor and Hydro as a legitimate, safe product to use, that I could be against that, but also be against the mainstream version of an alleged cure. And backing up to the protester rubber, people are perplexed. Why? Well, if you're against that, then how are you, for example, fighting for justice and freedom? The key here is people cannot wrap their head around the fact that both sides, or all sides, are psyops. And it's interesting in comments how you can see people's minds short circuit. They short circuit so much, then they become defensive and go on the attack. And they start ridiculing and then relying, for example, on logical fallacies and everything else. So really just wanted to highlight, how do you know when you're psyoped? When you can only see what you've been programmed to see. For example, there are two sides to a position. Not being able to accept that there's, as a loose descriptive, a poor descriptive, another side to all this, who are looking at everyone going, all sides are messed up. And I just want to finish off by highlighting something, if I wasn't clear before. Why do I keep highlighting, for example, the psyop of the protest of rubber and Ivor and Hydro and perhaps even religions and belief systems and social justice? Because these things on the alternative side is what's actually causing more harm than good. impeding, for example, people like myself who are trying to survive life. There's no stopping anything. This is part of the cycles of civilization, which I've discussed plenty over the years. And within the cycles of civilization, there are literal 100-year patterns. All you have to do is survive life. Perhaps one might say that is the meaning of life, to survive life without compromising yourself. And you can apply that, for example, even to religions and belief systems. One's relationship with the Most High, whatever. Or from earthly perspectives, just survive life. And that's been my message, plain and simple. So, summing everything up just one more time for clarity. How do you know when you are psyoped? When you can only see the sides that have been presented to you and you've been programmed to accept, and you have a hard time accepting that there could be another side to all this, looking at everyone else. Hopefully that made sense. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.